Well, first I'm going to do this background wall just in there. So I'm just going to thin some paint down like ink. Maybe not quite like ink, but just so it flows. Just using a tiny bit of thinner with the black, brown and dark sienna. And with that I'm just going to come up in here and I want to put some darker parts in for this. Not everywhere, just here and there. I want this wall to have a few highlights as well, just little tiny indications really. I don't want it to be real, stand out too much. You leave some of them lighter areas and they look like little stones and stuff. Now this wall actually trips its way around here. Put a shadow underneath there and just have a little highlight then on the top it will. On the tops of the stones. It's so far away though that you don't need loads and loads of detail with this. I just wanted it to be darker than I had it really, and I can also put a few little stone tops to it. But don't want to be massive, thin, very thin at this distance. Only reason this is flowing over the surface is because I'm using the thinner. Otherwise on a dry canvas like this you would struggle to get it on there. So if you're using traditional techniques, usually you need to use a medium with your paint to help thin it down, slide over the canvas. There's some traditional artists who do the same thing as me, but I use primarily wet on wet, and now and again I just go back and do this, whereas they do the opposite. They do primarily traditional techniques and then now and again they'll do a bit of wet on wet, wet into wet, not necessarily on wet. It's not proper alla prima that they do. Alla prima is the original name for the wet on wet technique, right? That's what I've heard, although I don't speak French. I did like Claude Monet's work though, I really did. Before and after he got cataracts. See, I was never really schooled, I never went to art college. I learnt everything through trial and error, practice, hard work and dedication really. Sometimes the best way, because you find your own style and you find your own way. You learn tips and hints off other people along the way. If you've got an open mind you do. And if you don't think that you're the best out there, you're always going to be learning. Thing is, I don't like to compete too much, I just like to do what I do. I'm not a very competitive person when it comes to this. Get me in boxing ring, totally different story. I'm Mr. Competitive then. So just on that I'm going to mix a tiny bit of titanium white to that same colour. And then just here and there I'm just going to come back and highlight a few of them. They're probably too small for you guys to see, but just needs a bit of something in there. I'm hoping it's zoomed in close enough so you can get what I'm doing. So very minimal, you can't hardly notice it in the background, you just need a few highlights on this that I've just darkened off. So it looks like there's a few pieces of stone here and there. Cool. Now, one other thing I'm going to do Move the easel away a little bit.